Welcome to Sky Dice Episode 6, entitled Introduction to the Paranormal. Wow, our last episode for Level 1. Thank you so much for joining me on this last podcast of Level 1, Episode 6. In Episode 5, Parts 1 and 2, I was explaining the different tools, equipment, or devices, however you want to call them, that you can use for communication, contacting the spiritual world. These were what I refer to as the physical means of communication, something concrete. And of course, there is another way to contact the spirit world, the art of divination, of which I refer to as the natural way of communicating, meaning you do not necessarily need a device. Some do, some don't. You'll see what I mean when I start naming them. All the divination ways are in no particular order whatsoever. Dice divination reading. There are different kinds of dice and different kinds of readings. I suggest that when you find one that you are comfortable with, then keep that one. This way, by practicing the chosen method, you will get more and more familiar with, and that's when you can develop your intuition along the way. Of course, you can always find some websites on the internet that could explain to you how it is done. Now, when you try to read your future with 2 or 3 dice, depending on your choice, the numbers shown on the dice are as important as doing numerology. Each number has its own definition. Some people play the old-fashioned way by throwing the dice on the table. But some people use a circle, where only the dice landing inside the circle are considered for the reading. The choice is yours. So, to give you an example of a reading using 3 regular dice, which has 6 sides to it, of course, each die can be read separately or combined to form a more concrete or realistic message. Take note as I am giving you the definition of the numbers on a regular die. 1 means new beginnings, fresh starts, and potential for growth. 2 means balance, harmony, and equilibrium. 3, creativity, inspiration, and new ideas. 4, stability, security, and groundedness. 5, change, transformation, and movement. 6, completion, endings, and closure. So, here is an example of 3 combined numbers. If you roll a 1, then a 3, and finally a 6, then your message could mean that there is a new beginning leading to creativity and ends with closure. In other words, if you start a new project, it will be full of ideas which leads to creativity, and you write it to the end. It would not be something you start that you can never close. How it becomes divination would be when you allow your intuition to guide you in defining the dice roll, just as I was explaining at the start. Maybe even giving you a specific answer to a question you may have asked. Okay, next, Crystal ball. A crystal ball can be made out of glass or crystal and is another way to communicate or read the future. The reading by crystal ball is called scrying. The reader enters a meditative state or a trance. Remember when I kept reminding you to practice meditation? Well, this is one way where meditation will help you focus when trying to read a crystal ball. Some crystal balls are clear, the ones made out of glass, and others are unclear or fuzzy. You can see streaks of white lines inside the crystal ball that will give you messages or even an image that you could make out by focusing. By looking into the crystal ball, you may observe symbolic images or symbols that can be interpreted according to your current life situation, for example. These visions can provide messages. Crystal ball reading is a practice that requires patience and practice, and it is important to approach it with an open mind and a clear intention. Channeling. Channeling with a spirit is another form of communication, but normally done by a psychic medium or even a clairvoyant. These people go into a trance and after a while can get answers to the questions asked. Sometimes the trance is so deep that it can change the person's tone of voice. This happens when the spirit is speaking through the person. You know, when we say, "Don't try this at home," well, these are wise words. Don't do this on your own. It can be quite dangerous. It could easily lead to possession afterwards. When I say these practices or communicating with the spirits can be dangerous, that's one of them, among others. I am simply giving you or naming you the different kinds of communication without using different devices or equipment. Palm reading. I found two ways of getting messages from palm reading. Some people would study the meaning of the lines in the palm of a hand, like the head line, the heart line, and the life line, to name a few. Palm reading is not reading only the lines, but also the length of the hand, the length of the fingers, the lines on each finger. Some people, the more advanced ones, will also see some astrological signs in a hand, such as the mounts, Jupiter, Saturn, Apollo, Mercury, and so on. Also, the texture and flexibility of the hand play an important role. Well, that was just to name a few ways on how to read a hand. But there is also another way, and that happens to me sometimes when I read a hand. I'll look at someone's hand and then I have a vision of what's to come. I am not really reading the line per se. It's like a picture or short video. Sometimes I'll see a word forming on the hand or appearing right in the middle of the palm. As I told you, I always give an example of one of my experiences. One day I was reading someone's hand and I was able to see what he would be doing in the next year or two. Then I saw the death of a child, one of his children. I even saw the name but I did not tell him the name. I told him that it would unfortunately happen between 1 and 2 years from now. Well, it happened exactly 18 months later, a year and a half later, almost day to day. It was the child that I had seen the name in his father's palm. Another example I could give you is when I was reading a friend's hand, I saw through the reading that he was going to die between the ages of 45 and 46. He was about 42 at the time. Well, 3 years later, he turned 45 in February, and he died in May of that same year. I never took classes or some kind of course to know how to read palms. It just happens. I get a vision, and sometimes a word or two will appear on the hand. Suffice to say, that's why I don't like to read hands. Some people are able to control the content of the message or messages, but I can't. Not specifying the child's name was the first time I was able to control some of the details given to me. Anyway, could you imagine if I had told the name to the father, how worried he would have been all that time? Clairvoyant. A clairvoyant is someone who has the ability to see things or events, often focusing on predicting the future events or seeing things that are not physically present. Psychic medium is someone who can directly communicate with spirits to deliver messages. Automatic writing is when you are in a meditative state or in a trance and you let the spirit write for you. In other words, the person is lending her or his arm and hand, letting the spirit write the message. Very often the words will be written all together, no space in between each word, and very often the message is not written in a straight line. All that time the person is not aware of what is being written. The person is allowing the spirit to use the body to write the message. Which brings me to automatic drawing. I always include the automatic drawing separately from the automatic writing. People have a tendency to only think about writing a message, but sometimes it is nice to know what the spirit looks like too. One of my experiences is the automatic drawing. A friend of mine was sure there was some kind of a presence in her house, and she asked me to come over and check it out. I invited a good friend of mine to come along. She was also a medium. Wow, let me tell you, that was an eventful evening. Then my friend, the medium, unknowingly went in a trance, and that's when I saw the spirit that was haunting the house. Right there and then, I made a drawing of him and showed it to the others afterwards. I've been told that my friend still has the drawing to this day. Which brings me to talk about a seance. I mean, we have been talking about the different ways of communicating with the spiritual world. A seance is another way of communicating. It is when you have a group of people sitting at a table trying to contact a spirit or spirits. You normally always have a leader in the group. I myself have done a few seances with a group, but we are always two who are able to make contact, because you never know who you will contact or how it will happen. That's anyone's guess. For example, when I do a seance with a friend of mine, I feel the presence coming in, and then I can tell exactly where that presence is standing. I introduce that spiritual presence to the people attending the seance. And for some reason, the spirit goes and joins my friend and gives her the message to give back to the people or to the concerned person. Not everyone at the table needs to be a psychic to get results. If you keep on following my podcasts, you will be given the details on how to do a seance in level 2, as there is a proper way to start and a proper way to close a seance. Remember, level 2 covers everything you have learned in level 1, but at a much deeper level. And of course, there are additional topics to learn. There is always something new to learn in the paranormal. There are many, many more divination methods that I have yet to cover or talk about. But as I have said since the beginning, I only talk about the common ones. Believe it or not, we have already come to the end of level 1. I sincerely hope you have enjoyed everything that you have just learned about the paranormal. You have learned about the difference between our real living ways in this world compared to the spiritual world, how a lot is very similar. You have learned about the different hauntings, the different spiritual entities, the different tools or equipment used for contacting the spiritual world, and the art of divination to contact the spirits with or without any devices. Again, divination is allowing your intuition to guide you, feeling the energy around you or surrounding you. Meditation helps you to concentrate or focus on such a level. It allows you to try to reach out further out of your comfort zone, unless your psychic level is very strong. But if not, then meditating helps you get there. Again, this is just an introduction to the paranormal. Remember, we are all born with a gift. Different as they may be, each individual has its own gift. And whatever same psychic gift you may have, it could absolutely be at a different level or degree of strength. Some people are more advanced than others. So level 1 was just the surface of the paranormal. If you don't know which psychic gift you may have, be patient and it will come to you. Sometimes we just need a helping hand to discover it. By learning and practicing, you will get to find out what it is. And I do just that in level 2. I help you discover what is your potential ability or abilities. The podcasts from the very first one, which was the presentation, followed by episodes 1 through 6 inclusively, was my personal goal to introduce you to the spiritual side of the paranormal. So many people are curious about this and yet do not dare to question in fear of being ridiculed. Don't ever think like that. Just remember, we are all born with a gift. Even the skeptic ones, no matter how much they don't want to believe in it. You are the only one who will know which ability you are comfortable with or that you can see yourself using to help others. In level 2, you will have that possibility of discovering your true self, your true gift, as I will, once again, introduce you to these potential powers within you. You only need to discover them and then work them out. Just a quick reminder, don't forget to practice meditating so you will be ready for level 2. It will increase your chance or the opportunity to try to contact the spiritual world. A personal warning, do not try to contact the spiritual world alone. And, may I add, you will learn in level 2 the protections you need to do. Be patient. We are almost there. Now, with everything that you know to this day, you will be able to watch a ghost movie differently. If you will allow me to suggest one movie, you can try to watch White Noise with Michael Keaton. It will give you a good idea on how to contact the spiritual world differently, as they show you with somewhat regular recordings to a high-tech method. Well, time to go. Thank you for being with me all the way through level 1 and hope you join me for level 2. Until then, take care.